Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video we're going to do some more IELTS Writing Task 2 feedback. So, as always, we begin by checking the question, reading the question many times to make sure we understand what is required in this task. Okay, so in some countries, not all countries, but in some countries, young people are encouraged to work or travel for a year between finishing high school and starting university studies. So this is what we call a gap year. Very common in the USA and also in the UK. So you finish high school, you have a plan to study at university or college, but between those years you decide either to get a job or to travel somewhere to have some life experience, right? This is called a gap year. So some people, young people, are encouraged to work. So what does it mean, are encouraged to? Well, it means that there are people, maybe parents, maybe teachers, maybe friends who say, you know, it's a good idea to take that gap year. That's what encouraged to means. Okay, but discuss the advantages and disadvantages for young people. So we don't need to worry about this are encouraged to anymore. Great, it's out of the question. The thing that we are really focusing on is this 1 year between finishing high school and starting university studies, taking a break, working or traveling. Some people, or rather some people, there are advantages to this. But there are also disadvantages to this for young people. We're not talking about advantages, disadvantages for the parents, for society, for teachers. We're talking specifically about the advantages and disadvantages for young people, which is important. So, in short, in what ways advantages, in what ways can it be good for young people if they have this 1 year break? And in what ways could it be bad for young people if they have this 1 year break? So for me, 4-paragraph structure seems absolutely logical here. You have an introduction with background information about the question, about the subject, a reference to the question, pointing out the fact that there are pros and cons, and some thesis statements saying in this essay I will explore both the benefits and the drawbacks. Blah, blah, blah. Then you have body paragraph 1, advantages, body paragraph 2, disadvantages. And then we have a conclusion, which should be a brief summary of the candidate's main ideas. And also, I think, some type of reflective comment you could offer. Although we don't, in academic writing, we don't speak directly to the reader. We don't say you should do this, but we could give a bit of advice like it is advisable for young people to measure both or to consider both these advantages and disadvantages before making such an important decision. Some type of reflective comment. Let's see if we get something like that. Let's have a look at the candidate's writing. So, all right. Nowadays, good. Many people motivates. So the candidate is trying to directly paraphrase this part, but instead of using the passive, the candidate uses the active. And though many people motivates, I see what they're doing. They're transferring it from passive to active. Many people motivate. So candidate doesn't know how to use present simple, how to use that third person s. At least it seems as if they don't know. Motivate two youngsters. You don't motivate to somebody, you motivate somebody. And youngers is misspelt. Candidate, I think, means youngsters. To have at least written as one word. Now this, you should know this, right? At least you know it's 2 words. And these are the type of mistakes that you, as a candidate, should find first. I always say the first person to correct your work must be you. You have to be the first person to find those little spelling mistakes, the little typos, the little grammar mistakes that hopefully you often make. Verb to be, present simple. Third person s, maybe not using past time, something like this, thinking about gerunds and infinitives. You have to be the first person to check it. And so far, it seems as though you haven't done any checking at all, which to me says already, after just reading the first line, my first impression is the candidate isn't really taking IELTS very seriously. It's kind of a not very disciplined approach. It's just, oh, I'll just write whatever. I don't care about it. I will submit it and I will hope it's good enough. You have to care about your own writing, your own typos, your own small mistakes. At least 1 year. Okay, many people motivate two youngsters to have at least 1 year travel experience before starting their graduate studies. Graduate studies? Well, no. Undergraduate studies, no? So in the attempt here, some candidates are so like almost fanatical about paraphrasing every piece of language. They change university studies to graduate studies because they think, oh, I must paraphrase. And so they learn this mechanical paraphrase, but it's just not, yeah, it's not suitable here. For many people, traveling, misspelt. Again, do you know how to spell travel? If you don't, I'll give you a clue. It is in the question. There you go, travel with an E. You shouldn't misspell words that are in the question. Again, it's just a sign, just a signal that you don't really care much about your writing. For many people, traveling provides some practical experience so candidate has already started presenting advantages and disadvantages. Traveling provides some practical experience in their life. Don't want that yet. Wait for the body paragraphs for that. I guess in their lives is better here. However, there are both pros and cons. Okay, pros and cons, fine. Maybe in academic writing, I prefer like benefits and drawbacks. Maybe, but pros and cons, okay. There are both pros and cons to deciding to do this. Pros and cons to deciding to do this. Okay, in this essay, good. We get a thesis statement, nice. In this essay, I will discuss some of the reasons why taking a tour. We're not talking about taking a tour. We're not talking about taking a tour. We're talking about taking a break. Work or travel. That's not a tour. After finishing. Some of the reasons why taking a tour after finishing secondary education will help young people, youngsters, to prepare for, miss the preposition, some of the challenges to be overcome. Okay, but your thesis statement doesn't say what you're supposed to do. So you're supposed to discuss the advantages and disadvantages, and you say that you will discuss the reasons why young people take a gap year. Discussing the reasons why isn't the question. The question is not, why is this, or why does this happen, or why is this a trend? Your task is to discuss the advantages and disadvantages. And so that thesis statement doesn't cohere, doesn't match with the requirement here, unfortunately. So many weaknesses that we can see in the introduction. First, the paraphrase is too mechanical. It doesn't work. The candidate also, gets some vocab wrong with graduate studies, writes at least as one word, misses or doesn't demonstrate understanding of present simple, misspells traveling, uses life instead of lives. Okay, that's a common one. Uses a tour, which is strange. And also from a task response point of view, this thesis statement doesn't match with the requirements of the question. So we're off to a fairly weak start. Let's begin. Too informal. So it sounds like an article, not a piece of academic writing. Let's begin by looking at, nice. By looking at the advantages of traveling. We're not looking at exactly the advantages of traveling. We're looking at the advantages of traveling in the gap year. But okay, maybe I'm too pedantic here. One of the main positives, I like this, one of the main positives of youth become, so this is good. One of the main positives of youth become confident. Yeah, grammatically, that just doesn't make sense. That's one of the main positives is that younger people can become confident, but you have to, can gain confidence through their traveling experience, something like this. What I mean by this is, so that's good bit of language. What I mean by this is, now let's see if we get a good paraphrase, that while visiting some other places in they need to talk. Okay, so while visiting some other places in they need to talk. No idea what that means. Talk to many individuals in order ask the route in order to, and it's too specific. Firstly, not all people who travel have to ask, and not the route, but ask for directions or the way to get somewhere, the route of some road and hotel booking. It's just very, very specific. It's not really an argument. I kind of see what you mean. For instance, well, we don't need a for instance. You've already given the example. You've given a very, very, very specific example. And now you're saying for instance, which means for example. By doing these activities, so this is illogical, this for instance. By doing these activities, maybe therefore, or hence, by doing these activities, comma, they will be able to, we use be before adjectives, they will be able to communicate well and become confident. So it's almost childlike in the reasoning. You know, this very simple idea. If a young person goes on holiday, they will have to ask for directions and then they will become confident. Okay, I kind of get the main idea. Don't think it's very well explained, but I understand your main advantage here. Also, just looking at the paragraph structure. So, candidates using 6 paragraphs, absolutely fine. I think 4 is fine, but the candidate's kind of using advantages here, disadvantages here, and then conclusion. And that's okay. I have no problem with that. The only problem I do have is looking at the length of this. Word count 358 words. So, first piece of advice, don't submit work if it's 358 words. Maybe I should make this a new thing. I will not accept essays that are more than 320 words, shall we say. 300 is the ceiling that you should aim for, right? 250 is the floor, the minimum number of words. For me, the golden zone is 280. But I will allow myself to go to 300 sometimes. If you're at 358, that's the first thing that you need to fix. You're writing too many words. You have to find a way to write more concisely, to shorten it. Okay. All right. So first paragraph, reasoning isn't good. First body paragraph, reasoning isn't good. A little bit illogical in terms of the signposting language. A little bit informal with the let's begin. Some good stuff, like what I mean by this, and one of the main positives, but characterized by a number of grammatical mistakes which put strain on the reader. Secondly, good signposting language. Great. Secondly, they may change. Immediately I'm thinking, who is they? Who are you talking about? Probably young people. They may change into more open-minded persons. People is the best form of, persons. I prefer people. Take for example, not for an example. Take as an example, maybe. Take for example, during traveling. So no punctuation here. Take for an example, during traveling they may meet. So there's no punctuation here, and there should be. Take, comma, or take for example, comma, during traveling they may meet, or take for example, during traveling, comma, they may meet. Again, but this they, use young people. They may meet people from a different culture or religion, and evolve. Candidate means evolve, but candidate has written evolve. And again, the first person to check your writing must be you. You have to find this mistake, evolve. You have to find. So many candidates say, well, what can I do? Can you give me some tips? Check your own writing and find your own typos as an absolute minimum. Evolve into good friendship relation. I don't know what friendship relation is. Into a good friendship, into a good relationship, but into good friendship relation. In addition, good signposting language, adding more details from this, from meeting people, I guess. From this, they can understand very well to people. So we have a problem with very well to people. The best position is they can understand people very well, or they can understand people from different cultures very well. Again, this is left underdeveloped. Okay. Turning to the other side of the argument, there aren't two sides of the argument here. This isn't a discuss both sides and give your opinion. There is it isn't like, it's not set up as, there are some people that believe it's a good thing while others argue it's bad. This says that there are both advantages and disadvantages. So there isn't an argument here. You're just talking about what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages. Okay, so it's not an argument. Many young one get lost. As a topic sentence, it's not really. No. To be more precise, okay, the candidate is trying to use some signposting language. It is noticeable effort here. To be more precise, because of the small age, because of their young age, because of the small age, their brains may not be developed as, sorry about that, may not developed as good, may not be developed as well, adverbs, as adults, and they don't have good navigation skill. Come on, that's not a point. Are you really telling me that kids of the age of 18 can't navigate as well as adults because their brains aren't developed? It's not really a good argument, is it? I don't know. Let's use, again, a bit informal here, let's use as an example, younger people cannot able... Let's use as an example, younger people, perhaps who cannot... And cannot able isn't used. Cannot or aren't able to, but not cannot able to. Cannot understand the complex network of roads. Which complex? The complex network of roads? Like Highlander, there can only be one. Understand the complex network of roads. This often leads to waste of time while traveling. I don't really understand that argument. I don't think that argument is fair, reasonable. Certainly it's not academic. It's almost, it's borderline discrimination. Okay, another issue is that many young people get scammed. Again, it's just a bit informal with these terms, get lost, get scammed. In other words, there's no distancing language. It's not like, more academic would be another possible disadvantage of traveling in your gap year is the possibility of being scammed or the possibility of falling victim to scammers or something like this. Yeah. In other words, well, it's not in other words here. This just isn't the right... You're giving an example. It's not in other words. In other words, while booking accommodation, they can trust anyone very easily because they are traveling for the first time. Well, not always. You don't know that they're traveling for the first time. They may have traveled before. They may have traveled with their parents. You don't know that. They're traveling for the first time and sometime got scammed. Sometime got scammed by scammers. Got scammed by scammers is too much. It's like oily oil or fishy fish. Scammed by scammers. Maybe you mean sometimes they... And why are we in the past now? Got scammed in the past. Not clear. Unsure what you mean. To avoid the scamming takes time and can be especially challenging if someone traveling... To avoid the scamming takes time, comma. and can be especially challenging if someone is traveling. So candidate doesn't use that verb to be in continuous tenses. Is traveling for their first time. Again, the argumentation is weak, but I understand what they mean. Say what you want about the candidate's performance. I understand that they say one advantage is that you can become more confident. Another advantage is you can become more open-minded and understand other cultures. But on the downside, young people have small brains and they get lost easy. And also because young people are traveling for the first time, they can get scammed. So the ideas are, the main ideas are there. It's just they are very poorly developed. All things considered, nice. All things considered, comma, full capital letter. I don't know why you're using capital letters after commas. Again, it's just evidence that you are not ready for IELTS. You have to do some preparation. You have to learn, very, very basic things about writing. And using capital letters after commas, yeah, you have to improve your general English before you should think about IELTS. All things considered, comma, by few countries to cheer up young one. No idea. Absolutely no idea what that means. By few countries to cheer up young one traveling at early age. Yeah, just absolutely no idea. I'm sorry. Too personal. You need to weigh up. I like this weigh up. You need to weigh up the pros of developing the confidence and open-mindedness behavior of people, comma. Can we have a space after the comma? I don't know why there's a space before the comma, sorry. And the cons of getting lost and losing money, maybe, in scams, space, full stop. Personally, I believe the benefits in terms of confidence and accepting behavior of youth eventually outweigh any negatives. Maybe generally or on the whole. But okay, I think I'm ready to give scores for this. So task response for me is a 4. I just feel like while the main ideas are clear, they are just very poorly developed, and there's lots of like illogical flow. But okay, illogical flow, that's coherence and cohesion. But yeah, ideas are there. It's just poorly developed. And also you have that problem in the conclusion where your thesis statement is not what is required here. So yeah, for me, 4. Coherence and cohesion, I will give 5 for this, maybe. Overall, there is a sense of progression. For sure, there is a sense of progression. We get the introduction, we get a couple of advantages, a couple of disadvantages, and a conclusion that tries to summarize. So that paragraphing is fine. There is a lot of good signposting language, like all things considered. Another issue, turning to the other side. Secondly, let's begin. All of that signposting language works. Some of the signposting language is a little bit strange, like not in addition. To be more precise, I don't know. Maybe to me, be more precise works here. There was one with for instance that I just thought, well, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, this for instance was just very strange. You've already given the example and then you're saying for instance afterwards. That was a bit strange. And also just the logical flow sometimes is odd. Also your ideas can be a little bit incoherent. Yeah, a lot of that is to do with grammar and vocab. But coherence and cohesion, fine. The skeleton of an essay is there. And there is some signpost language. Some reference words are dodgy too, like they may change. Problems with articles, which can be a problem with cohesion. Not always, but can be. Yeah. Lexical resource, I'll give a 5 for that. I do feel like there are some nice bits of language in there, like to weigh up, open-mindedness, behavior of people, benefits, young people, booking accommodation, complex network of roads. Some of the language is even, suitable for a 7. It's just there are so many errors, like the route there, the tour they talked about earlier, youngers at least written as one word, misspelling of traveling, um, misspelling of evolve. Candidate spells traveling correctly. Candidate spells traveling actually 3 different ways, which is interesting. Okay. So yeah, because of lexical resource 5, certainly, maybe, no, maybe there is enough for a 6 in there, actually. I think there is enough positives. There are enough positives in there for a 6 for lexical resource. I don't want to be too critical because as an essay, it reads very poorly, but I have to say that the lexical resource is good, and some of the stuff is suitable for a 7, but the lack of accuracy brings it down with vocab. And grammatical range and accuracy, I have to give a 4 for this. So many grammar mistakes in almost every clause. Candidate doesn't show, at the most basic level, the candidate knows that we use subject, verb, object. It's the normal structure of sentences, word order in sentences, fine. But candidate has no real control over present simple, over present continuous, randomly throws in past simple, and other things. Other things are just grammatically so strange that it just causes a breakdown in understanding. What I mean by this is that while visiting some other places in they need to talk many individuals in order ask the route of some road and hotel booking. Yeah, it's just confusing. Yeah, so advice I would give to the candidate is, you have the skeleton of the essay here. It's obvious that you've done some preparation in, looking at the IELTS structure of essays. It's obvious that you know that, and I think the 6-paragraph approach is fine here. You have a lot of good signposting language, but your overall English level just isn't there, and some really, really brutal mistakes with the most basic aspects of writing. So my advice would be, forget about IELTS for now and work on improving your general English. Find a strategy to improve your general English. Take a year, get to that upper intermediate level, then do, I don't know, 3 months on IELTS preparation, and then try again. But for me, and it depends on the score that you need, of course. If you only need 5.5, go for it. You might get it. If you need something like 7 or 7.5, you're very, very, very far away from that. And learning IELTS tips won't get you the 7. If you need a 7 or a 6.5, learning IELTS tips, strategies, tricks in IELTS won't get you close to that. Your English level is just, too low to think about that, at least in my opinion. But okay, overall, then we get the score as 5.5, right? Sorry. No, hold on. 4.5. Is it 4.5 overall? Just 1 second. 4. Yeah. So 4.75, rounding down to 4.5, puts the candidate, lower side of the lowest side of intermediate, perhaps. Yeah, I feel like that's fair. 4.5. Might some examiners give this score a 5? Maybe. I'd be surprised if anyone gave it a 5.5. But yeah, that's enough from me. So I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of this candidate's IELTS writing. Again, I am sorry if the feedback appears critical or negative. It is not a criticism of the candidate. It's just an opportunity for you to see what goes through an examiner's mind when they check writing. How do examiners evaluate it? I am just one person doing this. Another examiner might have a different interpretation of it. It happens sometimes, but those are my honest, brutally honest thoughts and feelings about this writing. If you would like me to give you brutally honest feedback on your IELTS writing, or if you'd like a practice speaking test with feedback, then you can request this through the Telegram channel. A link to the Telegram channel is given in the description below. But I will leave it there for now. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening and go Lions.